Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to What's on the Playlist today. Today I'm going to talk about Robyn Hitchcock's debut album, Black Snake Diamond Roll, an image of which you will see here. Robyn Hitchcock, this album came out in 1981, and it was Robyn Hitchcock's first solo album. He'd been in a band for a couple of years called the Soft Boys, which actually was very influential for the alternative rock scene, especially for bands like REM. They cited that Soft Boys as a big one of their inspirations. But this is Robyn Hitchcock's first solo journey. Soft Boys broke up. He started doing this. I don't have any Soft Boys albums, so I'm not going to talk about them too much. Aside from the fact that they were kind of like a psychedelic band, I guess, a little bit harder edged than you might think of for a psychedelic band. And this first album certainly carries, it's a bit harder than some of his later stuff. He mellowed out in previous years. And it's certainly, people have said it's surreal, which I think is a good way to describe a lot of his music. Robyn Hitchcock uses a lot of allegory in his lyrics. The music he plays is kind of, doesn't really follow regular rock tempo. I'm not sure quite how to describe it. I'm not a professional musician. I don't know anything about how to, what they call the, I don't know what 3/4 time is. I know how to say it, but I don't know, so I don't know what kind of timing he uses, but it sounds, if you were to listen to it, it's like, you kind of go, something's a bit off. I know that most music, rock music especially, even folk music, most popular music that in that these categories, whatever genre you want to talk about, pop, country, rock, alternative, whatever, they all use similar chords and similar chord progressions. Robyn Hitchcock doesn't do that. So when you listen to it, there's something different about it. But because I can't read music, I could never quite get the hang of it. I took music classes in school, just couldn't wrap my head around the concept. No matter how much I love music, it just didn't make sense to me. And when you listen to it, you can tell there's just something a bit different about this music. It doesn't quite sound the way you expect it to. And yeah, like I said, it's very allegorical. He doesn't, he's saying one thing and meaning something else. I think a good comparison would be They Might Be Giants. They Might Be Giants songs are very allegorical. They seem very silly and nonsensical, but they're saying silly, nonsensical things, but they mean something else. But They Might Be Giants music is very upbeat and happy. And Robyn Hitchcock really doesn't follow those lines. His musics tend to be more dark and brooding, but not in a way that seems like goth emo. It's more melancholy, I guess. You would say. I don't know. I'm floundering here. But he's got songs called Brenda's Iron Sledge, The Man Who Invented Himself, Do Policemen Sing. This album's also been re-released aside from the initial press release, there have been 3 other re-releases. Each one has different songs on it. You've got the original trackings, but then you've got bonus tracks, which are different for each of those 3 subsequent re-releases. So if you've gotten by this album, you could get any one of those musical selections. You've got the original dozen tracks, but then mine has 1, 2, 3, 5 bonus tracks, which weren't on the original vinyl album. What else can I say about this? It's real, it's dark, it's brooding. But at the same time, the character himself, Robyn Hitchcock himself, he looks fairly normal. He's here with a fedora on, holding a pear in his hand. So he's very eclectic, but you see him get up on stage, especially now. This album is recorded 40 years ago, over 40 years ago. So he's, he's in his 70s, got this shock of white hair, just pure white hair, you know, kind of big, kind of a slightly big nose. He gets up on stage, he kind of chats amicably with the crowd. He seems happy when he performs, but these songs are kind of dark, so he's a happy, melancholy guy. This artist, not specifically this album, was introduced to me by the same guy who introduced me to They Might Be Giants. So it's kind of why I might classify them together. This guy I worked with made me a mixtape. They Might Be Giants on one side, Robyn Hitchcock on the other. Loved all of it. Started going out and buying their stuff. So I've been buying this music since the late 80s. And both performers are still putting stuff out. He's got probably 24 albums, either by himself or with a band that he formed called the Egyptians. So he's got a simultaneous solo career and a career with a band. He'll make a couple albums by himself, a couple albums with the Egyptians. And he says, he likes to, especially when his debut album came out, he liked having complete control over everything, because when he was the front man for the Soft Boys, he kind of had to make compromises, and making stuff himself, just complete freedom to do what he wants. The album wasn't a huge sensation in Great Britain. I forgot to mention that. He's from the UK. But he has a small and devoted following, a very passionate fan base, of which I am one, since I have most of his stuff under Robyn Hitchcock, or Robyn Hitchcock and the Egyptians. As far as being his first album, as I mentioned, it's a bit rougher, a bit harder sounding than his later stuff. So I'm not sure how this would be to be as a debut, as a place to start. I think it would be a good place to start, because it does set you up for his later stuff. But he keeps on being this surreal, melancholy character. He does have some upbeat stuff, and honestly, one of my favorite songs of all time for any artist, just one of my top 100 songs, is one of his, and it's an instrumental. There's no lyrics. It's just 3 minutes of him playing on the guitar, and it's a very slow piece, but for some reason it just just hits me. It's not on this album. I don't think. No, not on this album. It is one of his earlier albums, so I'll wind up reviewing that eventually. But I think I've said my piece. Look him up on YouTube if you want to get a taste of what he sounds like. See if it interests you. I hope it does. As always, thanks for watching. If you like listening to me ramble on like an incoherent idiot for a few minutes, you can do that some more if you want. I'm not going to press you into it. And until next time, good hunting.